wants the power.
I'm
Okay,
recording this, everybody, just letting you know, but you won't be on the video, just Lindsay.
okay, so now once I know it's recording, welcome. Let me start. For
Sorry.
all those that are seeing this at the Cancer Support Society, we're going to talk about mindful eating, but we're also really going to learn a lot about our brain. And we're going to use, as we learn mindful eating, we're really going to be learning about mindfulness. And when we learn about mindfulness, we're going to learn how to reduce our stress, our worry, and our anxiety. And a lot of times during the holiday season, but really during any season where we have expectations and things that are changing around us, and people put expectations on us and we put expectations on them, then there tends to be conflict. So we can learn from this. We can actually use this holiday season to bring out more joy, more peace, more calm, and more training for 2023 to have a more peaceful year. I can see everyone's on board with me, right? Give me hands up. Come on,
Yes.
hands up.
Yes.
I see it. Okay. Here we go. Woo! Now, I just want you guys all to know that this class is only going to be an hour long. So it's not very long. And so we're doing like the Reader's Digest version. But if please look me up. If you put lindsaylinebuck.com or centeredmoment.com, you'll come to my website. And I have lots of courses. I teach at Adult Ed. I teach at the Goebel Center in our local area. Often I teach at the YMCA. I do Zoom classes, and I actually do coaching and teaching in my backyard. And I live near Wildwood. So, there's lots of different opportunities. All right, let's get down to the good stuff, okay? So we're going to share. Now, I'm going to go here. Look at this. I'm doing good. I can see it. It's happening, guys. Here we go. All right, can everyone see it?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Okay. So mindful living is really what we're wanting to know. How do we live a more mindful life so we can have less worry, stress, and anxiety in our lives? We have a lot of different conflicts in our lives. One of them is just getting older, right? The body isn't working the way we want it to work, and the people around us are also getting older. Or you're dealing with someone who has cancer, or you have cancer yourself, and that is not what you signed up for. So how do you deal with that? And so we're going to go to that, but we're going to use mindful eating as being a really good way of having the example. Here's my name and my phone number. I'm a wonderful texter. If anyone wants to text me in the future to have further conversation or email me, feel free. Okay, let's see. Now, you all, okay. Let's see, I'm going to be able to just, I know you guys can't see all this. I just wanted to put it up here. Like I said, what I think I'm going to do is give Maddie also my PowerPoint, or if anyone wants to email me, maybe that would be the best thing to do. And I can email you my PowerPoint, and then you can have this information, because that's really simple. I can send it to you on an email and a PDF. But mindfulness, all these words is basic saying, being in the present moment, being here and now, right now, here and now, and not having that judgment mind, not having that mind of like, oh my God, is this really happening? Or what does this mean tomorrow? Or I can't believe this is going to do this. When you have that worried anxiety mind that runs and runs and runs, that puts a filter system on everything that you're bringing in. Mindfulness means that you're bringing the information on, but you're letting go of all those past stories, and you're really able to hold the present moment as it is, just as it is. So mindful eating means that you're really present in eating. It does not mean you're dieting. It does not mean that you're not eating. It means that what you're eating, you're choosing to eat. What you're eating, you're enjoying what you eat. You're really not putting a past story like, oh, this is going to be a problem, or a guilt story or a shame story onto it. You're just enjoying it. You're in the present moment. You know what you're doing, and you are just feeling it as it is. So mindful eating actually is very pleasurable. It's not something that's negative. Let's see. Trying to see how that does not advance when I hit here. I'm going to figure this out. Why would this be? Let me see if I move this. We will figure out my sharing.
Use the arrow to go to the next one. There you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I exactly did, but I got it. We'll figure it out. But thank you so much, Maddie. Okay, so like I said, let's get into the brain. This is a Reader's Digest version of the brain, but this is what you really have to understand when it comes to mindfulness, is you understand that there's three parts of the brain. There's the lower brain and the middle brain and then the upper brain. The lower brain is your lower survival center. All animals have it. Lizards, snakes, fish, cats, dogs, pigs, even like an insect. They have it. They want to survive and they want to regulate their body so they can multiply. So in other words, it regulates your heartbeat, it regulates your sleep, it regulates your hunger, it regulates everything. And even when you're sleeping, the lower part of the brain doesn't go to sleep. It's always awake. And that's why it's like kind of scanning to make sure everything's all right. And if a weird sound goes off and you're sleeping, you get startled and you wake up because that lower brain is alert and it's making sure you're okay. Okay, and its whole job of the lower brain is to make your body function well and to make sure you're okay. So it has that fight, flight, and freeze response in it as well. When something comes across to you that seems like threatening, then it's like you go in that fight, flight, freeze mode. Because you want to make sure you're not going to be eaten by a bear. And we'll return back to that concept. The middle brain, that is actually not fully developed when you're born. They say that it really is developing between 0 and 4, but it holds your memories. So that means it actually is holding new information all the time, and it's just getting stuff is being put down there. Your subconscious mind is in your middle brain. So in other words, how do you respond to love? How do you respond to people that are kind? How do you respond to anger? How about if, you can see my, the winter sun is peeking through. I had to change those. How do you respond to things? All these things are learned. And when you're young, your middle brain does not say this is good or bad. Your middle brain just absorbs information all the time. So how you respond to your family, if you grew up in a family of screamers, then your middle brain said screaming is how you communicate because that's what you learned, right? That's exactly how you learned. Let me just fix, I'm so sorry, my light because the sun. I think that'll be a little better. Okay, there we go. I got some light, but not too much light. And so how you also respond to anxiety, to fear. So like if you had a very nervous Nelly mom, let's say that, and she would get scared by snakes and spiders and things like that when you were young, you would learn that you should too be a nervous Nelly and respond to snakes and spiders and so forth, and that they were dangerous. Your middle brain doesn't know. It just absorbs. So what happens is when we go on automatic pilot, the only things that are really activating in our brain are this lower brain that's always keeping you alive, and then your repetitive, your habits, which is in your middle brain. So now when we're talking about mindfulness, that's not mindfulness. That's automatic pilot. So when you guys drive to work or, clean the house or, whatever you do, go to the gym, whatever you're doing, if you're on automatic pilot, you do it well, but you don't really remember doing it. Has anyone had it? Like, did I really drive to work? What did I do today? I see people laughing. Exactly. You're an automatic pilot. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you're not really in the present moment. Your brain is just doing its habits and it knows how to do it well. Okay. And that's the way the brain is made. There's nothing wrong with that. We can't be thinking about everything all the time. I can't think, I got to take a shower and then be like soap and like overanalyze everything. We wouldn't get anything done. We have to know how to walk and talk and chew gum on automatic pilot, but we don't want to live our life there. Because if we do live our life there, then we're not making choices and we'll just keep repeating the same behaviors over and over again. We'll keep repeating worry, anxiety, fear, and eating habits. So if you don't like your eating habits that you have, it's because they're already established in your middle brain. And where did you learn your eating habits? You learned them when you were young. Amen. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So we want to go to our higher level. It's the prefrontal cortex, or the higher part, or executive thinking part of our brain. That's up here, and you can actually think about it when you are like really thinking and you got a problem. You'll see people like go like this, or they'll be like, wait a second, I got to think this out. It's like they're kind of waking up their prefrontal cortex. Somehow intuitively they can feel that it's in here. This is where it's happening, you know? Now your whole brain is working together. So I don't want to say it's totally isolated, but you can feel the energy. So when you are really thinking and making those choices, you activate this part of the brain. When you activate this part of the brain, then you activate the ability to be heart, mind centered, because this part of the brain is not in survival. It's not just thinking about Lindsay has to have food, shelter, sex, you know, the survival skills. It's thinking compassion, empathy, understanding, kindness. All this is being activated here. If you think about it, when you're being kind to someone, that's not a habit. You're thinking about how they feel. When you're thinking about how they feel, then you're being the observer. When you're being the observer, then you're activating your prefrontal cortex part of your brain. Now, I've read a lot of studies recently because they're coming out all the time about how in the world do we not get dementia? How in the world do we not get autism? Not autism. Hold on. I'm having a dementia moment. Alzheimer's. I got it. I came back. Okay. I had to activate my prefrontal cortex. Okay. So how do we do that? We have to keep this part of our brain healthy and alive. So when you do get dementia, or when you do get Alzheimer's, what happens is this is the part of the brain that goes away first. The ability to observe other people's feelings, the ability to make choices, the ability to play chess, the ability to have compassion and empathy. And you go back and you start then just living on past memories. Right? And the past memories, that's your middle brain. Your all the storage of all the things that ever happened to you are in your middle brain. All the new things have to come through your prefrontal brain to go to your middle brain. So when you start getting dementia, or when you're stressed out, or when you're hungry, or when you're overwhelmed, or when you're emotional, when any of that happens, this is the part of the brain that gets turned off first, and you go back to your habits. Isn't that interesting? So when you need to make better choices and you're so emotional, the problem is the brain doesn't work well, and you end up making the same choices that got you into the same problem. Human brains, we need better evolution, but we have to realize this is the brain, and the brain has not changed and evolved and changed in 200,000 years. So 200,000 years ago, human brains looked the same as they do now. And think about it. 200,000 years ago, we didn't have microwaves, cars, and McDonald's, right? We had tigers and snakes, and we didn't live really past like 35 if we were lucky. So we have an old brain in a body now that has a whole different experience. So we have to learn how to train this caveman brain to work in the present moment well. And how do you do it? You do it through mindfulness. And that's what this is about. So now let's just take this into eating, because this is about eating. Well, the first thing I want you to know, the lower part of the brain, if you are hungry, you guys, a lot of you guys have heard of hangry. hangry, right? So you're hungry and angry. That's because the blood sugar has gone down in your body and it's starting to shut off your prefrontal cortex, because this is the part of the brain that needs to survive. And you end up going into survival mode, which means in caveman, I need to get aggressive to get food. I need to get aggressive because I'm not having, something is not working right. So when people are hangry, it's because they're angry, because they have low, they're hungry because they have low blood sugar. You have to keep your blood sugar up. Why you keep your blood sugar up? So your whole brain can work, so you can have compassion, empathy, kindness up here. Hangry comes from down here. That's the lower brain. Now your middle brain is, you got to sit back and think, what did you learn as a child when it came down to eating? What'd you learn? Take a breath and think about, what was it like when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old? How did people treat food? Did you get treated food as a reward? Think about this. Most of us did. So if you go to the doctor or you did a good job, I'll take you out for ice cream. You've been a good girl, take a lollipop, right? If you only be quiet a little longer in the car, you'll have your M&Ms. I mean, I did it to my own kids. I have to be honest. I rewarded them with food for good behavior. So what has happened is that we've learned in our brain that when we do well, we reward ourselves with food. We learned it from such a young age. And it's not necessarily bad, but we need to be mindful of it. We need to know that that program is inside of us, okay? We also need to realize when you're bored, what do? You eat. You're bored, you're in trouble, go make some popcorn. Go get mommy some popcorn. You know, what kinds of things went on? How about when you're stressed? When you get all stressed out and you want to reward yourself to get through something, or you want to change what you're thinking about. Oh, well, then why don't we go and have something to eat to shift how I feel about in this moment? When you're eating something you like, you're releasing dopamine. When you're releasing dopamine, you feel better. So you're stressed, then you say, okay, I'm stressed, so I'm going to go eat something I like, because you innately want dopamine in your body and you want the sugar rush to make yourself feel better. So you can see how the brain and eating gets all intertwined and really, really gets very complicated. And so you got to give yourself a break, that this is the way it is. Okay. So mindful eating isn't that you can change all that. Mindful eating is you're aware of that. You're aware that your brain is acting this way. And when you have awareness, then what you're activating is the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex gives you choice. That's so massive, that the prefrontal cortex gives you choice. So when you start feeling, I'm stressed and I'm going to go get something to eat, you can think to yourself, wait a second, I'm rewarding myself because I'm stressed out. Well, instead of going and getting the big piece of pie, maybe I'm just going to get a little piece of pie and I'm going to eat it nice and slowly. So I don't feel so guilty. I'm going to be mindful what I'm eating. I'm just not going to consume the whole thing. There's other ways, and we'll get into this, that you'll see the programming. So this is the hangry, the state of anger caused by lack of food. It is so documented. It is so exactly what happens. And you see it happen to little kids all the time, right? 2, 3, and they're like, ah, mom's like, they haven't eaten, because they're not even aware that this is happening, but it is happening. So we need to start making this choice of understanding our lower brain and understanding our middle brain, so we're not living unconsciously, that we make conscious choices. So we all just had Thanksgiving, at least most of us did have Thanksgiving. In my old days in Thanksgiving, what happened is my mom, I'll just tell you my background, is my mom was, I grew up in the 70s. And so my mom, in 80s, and my mom said, we have to be as skinny as possible. We have to be Miss Twiggy. So we had to count our calories, and I was drinking Diet Coke at the age of 12. I mean, here we go. Skinny, skinny, skinny. So that is something now that's now programmed in my brain. Now, on the other side of it, Thanksgiving happened. Well, grandma made Thanksgiving, and you have to eat everything grandma makes, or it's an insult to grandma. So I have to be skinny all the time, except for when I go to grandma's house, because I need to eat huge masses of food and take seconds and thirds. Okay. And by doing that, I am honoring my family and my grandparents. And then we all need to lean over and feel sick afterwards. And then we've done a good job. That's my programming for Thanksgiving. It's not wrong. It's just I need to be aware of it. So when I have Thanksgiving now, I don't sit around and think I need to do that again. I need to know, where did that process and that thinking come from? So let's see. Oh, another one. I'm just going, let's see if I can do this. Just make sure everyone's muted as you come in, because it'll end up putting background music, sounds on the tape. So thank you. So the other thing I wanted to say was, how about buffets? Once again, I said my mom said that I should be as skinny as possible, except for holidays and buffets, because at buffets, I need to get my money's worth. So I had the programming that I need to count all the things I ate and make sure I ate more money than the buffet said. So I had to make sure I had 2 helpings of everything and soda and so forth. So these are just old programmings that are in my mind, and I need to realize they're there and be mindful of them. So when that longing and that feeling comes up to me, I can then choose to do it or not to do it. And then I put down this little thing of happy birthdays, because you also want to think, what is your feelings for your birthday or even other holidays? How do you feel about eating? So we have these 3 steps. We have this wanting mind. And I really want us to understand this. This is all human beings. We not just want food, we want things. You know, it's how the brain is. We want to have more, have more. It's the caveman squirrel inside of us. You remember that we're programmed that we should get a little heavy in the winter so we can burn it off, or in the fall, so we can burn it off during the winter when the food goes away. That's back 200,000 years ago. That's the way the caveman life was. But that's why we're programmed to wanting salt and sugar and carbohydrates, all these fats. We want those things in case something happens and we don't get enough food. However, we all know right now that even though that's in our DNA, like the squirrels want the nuts, we don't need to eat that way. We don't need to eat that way. So when we have that craving, that wanting mind, we need to recognize it. And it's not just food, it's anything. If you feel like you want a sweater, or you want more attention, or you want, you just get this longing for something, then you think in a mindful way in the present moment, what does this mean to me right now? Why am I fixated on my attention on this? Because you're fixated on that attention because of something that's programmed in your mind, either from your DNA, but most likely it's programmed in your mind from your past experiences. And so we want to be able to not be upset that we have a wanting mind. We want to be able not to reject it, not to shame it, not to feel bad about it, but to hold it and say, wow, I want this food. Why? And when you get, and you can hold it and say, why do I want to have this food? It gives you that mindfulness power to be able to make a conscious choice on what's best for you in that situation without shame. There's no shame in this at all. And so I have these pictures of my doggies. The one up at the top was me and Yogi, and my husband and I got Yogi, and we fell in love with Yogi, and he's so wonderful. And then we wanted more doggies. So then I was like, oh, that wanting mind came. So then we got little Buster. You can see him down here. We got a second dog, and that worked out great. 2 people, 2 dogs, 2 little dogs, fine. But I still have that wanting to have a 3rd dog. Well, the truth is, this is where I got to say, listen, just because I have 2 dogs doesn't mean that if I have 3 dogs, it'll be any better. And so I have to realize, no, the wanting mind, just because you have you eat 2 lollipops or 2 pieces of cake. Having a third piece doesn't make you better. You have to be able to recognize that it's still that wanting mind, that craving mind coming up, but more doesn't make it better. And that's the prefrontal cortex that we were talking about. The power to be able to say, no, that more isn't better, even though the lower brain is saying more is better. So this is the big key, is that we have to realize, and if you went in and took long courses at UCLA or anywhere else in mindfulness, the biggest thing they're going to teach you is just because you're having a thought doesn't make it true, and you don't have to judge it. You don't, just because I want a piece of cake. Okay, I want cake. Doesn't mean I need to eat it. I am really angry right now. I'm mad at my sister, my brother, my spouse. Okay, you're having a thought of anger. It doesn't mean that you have to be an angry person. See, when we were little, we're always told what you're thinking, that means that that's what you need to do. That's not true. We have like 50,000, some people say 90,000 thoughts in a day. They're just thoughts. Your mind pops them up, the subconscious mind pops them up, you react in different ways, and you recognize and say, that's a thought. And then you bring it up mindfully to the prefrontal cortex and you say, is that something I want to actually do? Does that actually make me become better me? And sometimes it does. Sometimes you have terrific thoughts. I feel like I need to call my friend. I need to hug. I need to clean my room, whatever it is. They're good thoughts. There's nothing wrong with that. I need to take my medication. All good thoughts. But if you think today's a bad day because it's windy, do I need to hold on to that thought? No, that's a judgment thought. I can just let that one go. That is where the power is when you realize that you can actually see what you're thinking and then making a choice if you want to continue thinking that way. That's true for food. You're going to get a thought and you're going to say, am I going to eat this? Maybe I will, but maybe I could eat half of it. Maybe I could eat it later. When you start really becoming mindful of what you're aware of and then not doing things on automatic pilot, the power of choice is yours. And that's where life changes. It's incredible. So how do we do this? Is that if you took a mindfulness class, like I said, through UCLA or any other course, or took any of mine, you would learn that in meditation is that when you do meditate, you're actually bringing attention. Mindful meditation is what I'm talking about, which means you're focusing on one thing and you're just staying on that one subject. And what you're doing is activating this part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex. And as you guys remember, what I was talking about in the beginning of my PowerPoint was that where the power is here. We don't want to be living in survival, which is the lower. That's where you're just knee jerking around, scared, upset, like, oh no, that's down here. You don't want to be doing just old habits all the time. Some of your habits are very good, but you want to make sure you're only doing the good ones. So you don't want to be there. We want to keep this part of our brain healthy. We want to take this part of our brain to the gym. So I'm telling you, if you meditate, that will help you build up this part of your brain. If you build up your prefrontal cortex, you have more impulse control, you have less judgment, you have more kindness in your words, you make better choices and decisions, you're healthier, all that from up here. And it's easy. You just have to start with 5 minutes, and you just have to start with your breath. That's it. Just your breath. In your breath, you just sit there for 5 minutes and you breathe in and you feel it come in, and then you breathe out and feel it come out, and you feel your breath in out. Close your eyes with me and do it with me. In, out, in, out. 2 more. In, out, in, out. All right, now open your eyes and come on back. When you were doing that and when you were listening to my voice and feeling your breath coming in and out, if we put you on a scanner for your brain, this part of your brain would have been relaxing. And this part of your brain would have been getting red, meaning more blood would be going here. This would be the activating part. It's like I took you to the gym for muscles. You lift weight for muscles and they get bigger over time. When you practice and staying focused on one thing, the power of concentration on one thing, and we did our breath as our one thing, then what happens is you relax this part of your brain and you have neurons that fire together, wire together. You start actually building your neurons to say, I know how to focus. I know how to stay in attention and concentration. And when this part of your brain builds up, then the power of choice, the power of impulse control, the power of empathy, compassion, observation, that all grows. And that's the part of the brain that goes with the heart. So mindful eating, being aware of what you're eating in the present moment and really focusing on it, activates this part of your brain, which helps you in all many different things. So here I have you can see right there, there is the brain cell connections. You see when you activate a part of your brain, the connections all start wiring together and firing together. And when you build better pathways, then that part of your brain starts to grow. It literally grows. And if you don't use it, that part of your brain, then the pathways break apart. So what we want to do is build up the pathways and the connections up to our prefrontal cortex that helps us have impulse control. So I'm telling you, 5 minutes of mindful meditation will actually help you have more control of your emotions, your impulse control, and therefore your eating habits. Wow. It's not medication, guys. I mean, there's other things you can do for sure, but this is something you can wake up every morning and just say, I'm putting on my alarm. There's a wonderful app called Insight Timer. Maddie, could you put that in the chat for me? Insight Timer is the name of the app. It's 100% free. You can buy a paid version, but you don't need it. It has wonderful meditation, guided meditations. It also has a timer on it. It has terrific teachers, and it is my favorite app, Insight Timer. So I want everyone to make sure that you check it out. So why are we doing this? I want to go back a little bit more to the brain. All right, remember that middle part of the brain I was talking about? That's the limpic system, okay? And the limpic system in the middle part of the brain has 3 primary directives. Once again, it's there for survival. So its basic brain function is functioning in a lion. It is the basic brain functioning of a lion or a tiger, meaning that animals have a huge limbic system. We have the prefrontal cortex, them not so much. So if they're hungry, they're going to eat. If they're hungry, they're going to kill and they're going to eat. They're going to steal, they're going to take the food, whatever it is, they're going to get the food. So when you're in that middle part of the brain, you end up just getting what you want and you don't think about it and you take it. The second part of the middle part of the brain, prime directive of the limbic system, is to avoid pain. Now think about that when it comes to food. I'm not taking my vitamins. I'm not drinking that much water. That medicine tastes horrible. Broccoli is yucky. So that's why, even though we know it's good for us, there's a part of us who's like, I'm not doing that, because our limbic system says that's painful. Who wants to drink that much water in a day, even though it's good for you? So the limbic system is trying to have you survive. So it'll take food and make you want to eat potato chips because they're fattening and salty. And, oh, and the DNA says that'll make you survive. They'll say, don't eat that broccoli because it doesn't taste so good. And the limbic system, the last prime directive is to seek pleasure. It wants to have fun. Okay, so in other words, ice cream trumps broccoli in the limbic system. So that's this part of the brain. Once again, we're trying to get ourselves, by meditating and making conscious choices, this part of our brain, because we need to know how to control the limbic system of that kind of part of the brain. And your limbic system does not have moral code, meaning it doesn't know right from wrong. It just wants to survive, avoid pain, and have pleasure. What has moral code is your higher functioning. And that makes sense. You can't go up to a lion or a tiger or a bear and say, you know, morally, let's not eat all that food because the other bears need some food too. And we want everyone to be able to survive the winter. Bear would be like, get out of here, sister. I'm eating all the food, right? But human beings can say, no, I don't need to eat all this food. I can share my food and still survive. Why? Because we have mindfulness awareness. We have the prefrontal cortex. We know what is morally and correct right out of our choices. Not when we're hangry. When we're hangry, we're the bear saying, give me the food and you're not taking any. We become the dog with the bone. No one's getting my bone, right? But when we practice mindful eating, we're not going from hangry. We're not going from that middle bear. We're going from up here, the consciousness and awareness of choice, where our true power of who we authentically are when we connect with our heart. That is so cool. That is so cool. So we can make great choices. All right, I got a few more slides I want to show you guys. Let me just move this. When I look like I'm moving stuff, it's your pictures and it hides my PowerPoint. So I want to be able to see it back and forth. Okay. There was a wonderful study. I'm going to talk about a few different studies about mindful eating right now, just so you guys can have some science to back up what I've been telling you. Because right now I know I'm just a big talking head saying, this is the way it is. Let me tell you, there's so much science supporting the things I'm telling you. They took these college kids and they put them in a room, and it was before lunch, and they knew that they were hungry, and they randomly separated them. And then they taught for 15 minutes, they taught them mindful meditation, exactly what I was telling you, where they sat down and they said, this is how you do mindful meditation. I want us all to practice it, and we're going to do the breathing and we're going to follow the breath. Perfect. The other room, they just put in some like stories for them to read that was not about mindfulness. It was really just probably general information. There just wasn't any substance in what they were doing. They just had to wait there for 15 minutes. Then they brought them out of the rooms together, and then they had a hallway, and they had snacks in the hallway lined up. And they said, we're going to go into a room at the end of the hallway, but we know it's lunchtime right now. And I want you all to grab something to eat right now, because we don't want you to be hungry. So grab something to eat. So they're hungry and they pick up their food. And then what they did is they monitored what food they picked up. And it turned out that the ones that practice mindful meditation, they picked up healthy snacks. Fruits and vegetables, healthy snacks. And the ones that were doing mindless things for 15 minutes and were hungry, they picked up unhealthy snacks, cookies, cakes, things filled with sugar, salts, carbohydrates, things like that. And so what they realized is what happened was when they were practicing the meditation with the kids, they were activating their prefrontal cortex. They weren't in there. They were learning something new. They were learning how to be in the present moment. So when you're breathing, you're really feeling your breath and you're in the present moment. And so when they came out of the room, they were still in the present moment. Their prefrontal cortex was still going on. They were thinking really clearly. They were able to make choices. So they made healthy choices. And most of us, not all of us, but most of us, when we're feeling really good and we're feeling in the present moment and we know we're making a conscious choice, we will choose a healthy snack. But when we're sleepwalking, when we're not really paying attention to what we're doing and someone puts out an Oreo or a cookie from Ralph's or something, there's not necessarily a granola bar that's been boxed for 2 years from Costco, and you're not thinking about it, you'll grab it and you'll just eat it because you're programmed to eat. Remember, that's what I'm talking about. The old caveman's programmed to eat, and you'll just grab that stuff if you're not thinking about it. But if you are thinking about it, you'll be like, I'm not going to take the sugars. I'm going to take the apple. So it taught them that if you practice mindfulness and then you make choices, after that, you will make healthy choices. Is that so cool? So cool. They did a whole bunch of other studies. And so these are just a few that I like, so I put them up. In one study, chocolate lovers who engaged in mindful eating ended up in a much better mood than those who ate their treat without stopping to enjoy it. So what they're saying is, if you're going to eat the chocolate, if you're going to do it, stop and really be in the present moment and enjoy every single bite. That's mindfulness. Really enjoy it. Smell it. Look at it. Taste it. Allow it to be your meditation. Instead of your breath, following your breath, allow a nice piece of chocolate to be your mindful meditation. Let me nibble on it. You will get so much joy out of it. You will really feel good about it. And then the truth is, you'll be able to say that's enough. You won't just automatically eat it. Like, how many here have gone to the movie theater and got a thing of popcorn this big, and then by the end it's all gone and you didn't remember eating any of it because you're on automatic pilot? Don't be on automatic pilot. If you're going to eat something you love, then really enjoy it, but make sure it's something you love. That's mindfulness. A similar study in 2013 at the University of Canterbury in New Zealand found the way consumers react to eating chocolate cake had a major effect on their weight. Those who saw it as something to celebrate were more likely to stay slim in the long run than those who were racked with guilt afterwards. Feeling guilty was more likely to promote them to abandon their diet and fitness plans and sink into a regime of unhealthy eating. So it goes back to what I'm saying. If you make a choice to eat something that's unhealthy, a chip or ice cream or whatever it is, really enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it, because when you go into the guilt mode, then you're going back into those old stories of judgment. See, I can't do this. I don't have control of myself. Screw it. I'll just gain the 10 pounds back. You don't want to go into those old habits. So if you do decide that you're going to eat something, excuse me, eat something that is not so healthy, but you love, really enjoy it and say, now I had it, and feel good about it. And then put it down. You have control. This is not about giving up your food. It's about understanding, relating, being part of it, really enjoying it, being in the present. Don't sleepwalk through eating. You don't have to have a whole candy bar. You can have a half, but you don't have to not have one. So once again, this is controlling your thinking, being aware of what you're thinking. Are you awake? Are you consciously eating? Here we go, mindful eating. I love to use this. Stop. S, stop what you're doing. T, take a 1-minute break. So I'm about to eat. Take a break. Really look at your food. Really decide, is this what you want? So there's a pause. You have that pause. Observe your body sensation. Check in with yourself before you eat. How hungry are you? Are you hungry? If you're not hungry, how much do you really need to eat, right? A lot of times when I go out to eat, in the old days, I'd go out hungry. So then I would eat all this food. But now once I have to make sure, because I gain weight so much faster once I've gotten older, is I'll eat an apple before I go out. Because I want to make sure that when I go out to a restaurant or wherever I'm going, I want to enjoy my food, but I want to make sure that I'm not hangry or super hungry and I'm eating bread to fill my stomach. I need to make sure that whatever I'm eating, I'm really enjoying it. It's really what I want, and it's just not there to fill me up. And then you proceed with awareness. So stop what you're doing, take a break. It doesn't have to be a whole minute, but take a pause, observe what you're eating, and then proceed with awareness. Now, I'm going to say something that really came to me. I actually, and I told Mary this, I have COVID. Yes, I do. And I got it on Thanksgiving morning. And so when I woke up, I didn't feel well. I took a test. And so it was positive, and I stopped what I was doing. I was overwhelmed with sadness and grief that I couldn't be with my family, and I cried. So it's okay. I cried, and I'm just taking this because a good cry is a break. I took a break. I stopped what I was doing. I was overwhelmed. I cried. I took a break, and then I proceeded with awareness. What do I do next? Instead of feeling sorry for myself, what can I do? And I proceeded. That's what mindful living is all about, is when you get dealt something, you stop what you're doing. Don't go on automatic pilot. You take a break. It might be a cry. It might be a scream into your pillow, but you give yourself a break to release some of the emotions. Allow yourself to settle and get into that calm state again. Rate really what needs to happen. Rating is a good way. How bad is this really? How hungry am I right now? How angry am I? Rate it, because then you're observing how you're feeling. And then you proceed with choice, with that awareness, with that inner power of, I want to have a good day anyway. What can I do to make this the best I possibly can? Can I make lemonade out of lemons? You do it with eating, and you do it with life, and you do it with calls from the doctor or calls from your grown kids at 10 o'clock at night. Who has ever had one of those, right? Calling your grown kids, right? I got 4 adult kids. When they call, it's at 10 o'clock. You're like, oh no, stop what I'm doing. Take a breath, take a pause. Don't go into that reaction mode, and then proceed with awareness, but proceed with prefrontal cortex, not into the worried mind, because this worried mind or this mind of old habits will really get you down a rabbit hole you don't want to go in. So I want to end this and say one of the best things, and that's what I like about Thanksgiving, is gratitude. And why gratitude is so powerful, I think if I hit this, yes, is because the rational mind, remember I talked about the limpic is like the middle part, and here in this part is the rational mind. When you go to gratitude, you're observing what is good. You're able to pull and be the observer with compassion, empathy, kindness. You're activating the prefrontal cortex. When in doubt, go to gratitude. So even if you say grace or you say a blessing over your food, it pulls that space. It gives you that awareness. Before you eat, if you bless your food, then you become aware of your food. Now I'm going to go right here. 10 tips for mindful eating. Reflect, sit down, turn off the TV so you're not just, or the movie, and you're just not endlessly eating. If you do want to have popcorn while you're watching TV or a movie, put it in a small bowl so you've already portioned out what you're going to eat, not the endless big bowl, right? Be aware, make a choice before you go on to automatic pilot. Serve out portions, pick a smaller plate. When I go to buffets now, I eat a lot, I will say, but I eat off a salad plate instead of a dinner plate. So that way I'll fill my salad plate, and then what I want more of, I'll go back and get another salad plate. But if I get a dinner plate, then I get too much food. Okay? Go to gratitude, chew 30 times, or in other words, really taste your food is what it's saying. Okay? Put down your utensils. Don't just sit there and talk like this. Give yourself a break and literally release your utensils and listen to the conversation. You do not have to clean your plate. My parents said that all the kids were, you know, starving in Africa and China, and I needed to clean my plate. That's what I grew up with. With my kids, I tell them if they don't like it, they don't need to eat it. We need to learn how to have smaller portions, not that they just need to pile it up and eat it. If food is bad, don't eat it. If you have a half of a candy bar left and you didn't like it, don't eat it. And actually, if you can eat in silence, that is really a wonderful skill to have as well. A wonderful skill, because when you're eating in silence and you're really tasting your food, then you're very mindful and you're very aware of what you're eating and you're enjoying it. Mindful eating is about enjoying your food with choice. All right, I know that was a lot of information. It's way different when you learn it all together, because I know I'm just kind of lecturing to you. But how did that go? You can unmute yourself, ask me a question. Did you enjoy it?
A lot to think about. I think it was really very well done.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
What is one tip that you think you might actually try in mindful eating?
Well, I think I put your mindful eating to me as more of the stress level of trying to bring it down, you know, with, right. I, not all that long ago in this past year, became cancer free, but then shortly after went into needing a total knee replacement. And so one thing got canceled a couple of months and then it came back, and I just finished it up 2 weeks ago. So it's like so much, you know, in here to try to, you know, where you love somebody, but sometimes you don't like them all the time.
I know a lot about that. Yes, and you're exactly right. And when you get stressed out, remember, when you get overwhelmed in emotions, then that tiger caveman brain kicks on. It's in your DNA, and the prefrontal shuts down, and it makes you hard. It's hard to make the good choices. It does. And when you're tired, even if you've had knee replacement or you have medication that makes you tired, that also shuts down the prefrontal cortex.
Right.
And give yourself permission. I'm too tired to have this conversation with you right now. It's all right. I say to my husband all the time, I'm like, honey, I love you. We can't talk about it. I'll talk tomorrow about it in the morning.
Right.
It's okay. Don't make
Yep.
poor choices because you're tired.
Right. Excellent.
Manager that's not said manager.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Lindsay, for this time. It is on the slide about mindful eating, the stop. And for the letter O, observe your body sensation of hunger, right? Of hunger rated from 1 to 5. What do you mean rated from 1 to 5?
That's a great question. And I really want to, and I taught mindful living at JPL, NASA, 7 times. And one thing I said to them is, you just need to rate things. And of course they rate, they're scientists. They love that. They love that. So because what rating does, it makes you the scientist of yourself or the doctor of yourself. You get you out of the emotionality of your own choices. And so what I mean by that is, like, when you're hungry, when you're about to eat something, you say to yourself, 0, I'm not hungry. 5, I'm starving. Where am I really in hunger right now? I'm actually a 1. I'm not hungry at all. So maybe why am I about to eat this ice cream? Because it's there and it's my favorite. Okay, well, now I know I'm not really that hungry. Then I do want some, but can I have a big tablespoon of the ice cream instead of a bowl? Because the truth is, I'm not hungry and I'm aware of that. But that's also true with being angry. It's really true when something, or worried. Let's say who here's ever been worried? You all, because it's part of the programming of the human brain to be worried. So what happens, the amygdala goes off and sends off this anxiety of worry, or this worry that becomes anxiety. Worry comes first, then anxiety. And then you say to yourself, how worried should I really be that so-and-so didn't call me, or that this is a tough situation? And you think, this is really not a big deal. In the life of challenges, it's not a big deal. Knee replacement, cancer-free. Cancer-free, huge accomplishment, but a lot of issues to get there. That's huge. Knee replacement, I think, is less than cancer-free. So there's a lot more in cancer than there is in knee replacement, but common cold is even a lot lower. Now, when you're having the common cold, you might feel like this is it. No one taught me it's the worst thing in the world, but if you rate it, you say it's actually a 3, because cancer was 10, knee replacement was 8, and the cold is 3. So get myself back into order and act like it's a 3 and stop acting like it's a 10. So that's what I mean with food too. Rate how you feel, because we think whatever's in front of us is the absolute worst thing that can happen if we allow this lower part of our brain to happen. But our higher part of our brain will say like, no, no, no. You made it through COVID with cancer? Holy moly, I can get through this problem.
Yes.
This is nothing, sister.
Yes.
And then you
Yes.
start patting yourself on the back, go, bring it on. I can do anything now.
Yes.
So that's
Thank
what I'm
you,
saying.
Lindsay.
Rate it. It really helps you get yourself in line and empower you to handle the situation or whatever you're dealing with.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I just one thing that I didn't hear when I was younger, when I lived at home, my mother served us and she did portion for us. So in my adult life, I didn't know how to portion to this date, you know, because my eyes sees and my eyes wants more a lot, you know, and it's not about the stress, you know, anger or anything, just it's my eyes, you know. Either I wish like if we go places, people would serve me and I'd be content, you know. I would not ask for more anything. One plate is enough for me. But since there's nobody to serve me, you know, and I can't afford to go to restaurants, fine restaurants that they portion, like French restaurants, that I'd be content. And that's my problem. But I would definitely contact you, you know, and see in the future, because that's a gift I'm giving myself. I wanted to get a personal trainer, you know, go to gym and all that. And it's a gift that I'm giving myself, you know.
Well, that's
And listening to you today, I'm gonna skip that and go with you. Thank you so much.
Well, that's what, give me a call. I do mindfulness coaching. I do it all different ages. And that is my big gift. And I do it
Thank you
through
so much.
Zoom, or I can even do it in my backyard. I did want to say to you one quick story. I'm on my second last and best husband. And I used to buy, and I still do, cookies, and I'll put them in my kitchen. And then in the morning, they'll all be gone. And I'll be like, where's the cookies go? So in the middle of the night, he gets up and he eats all the cookies. And one time we were talking about it, and he said, you know, Lindsay, when I was a little kid, his family didn't have a lot of money, and his mom would go out grocery shopping once a week and buy the food and buy the cookies. And he had 2 brothers. And they all, if they didn't eat it, the good stuff on the first day, they didn't get it. And that was old programming. And I promised him I was not going to eat the cookies in the middle of the night. I bought them for him. But it's the same programming. It's just back from your childhood. And the biggest part to accomplish the change is the awareness. If you're not aware of what you need to work on, how can you work on it? So amen, sister, you're halfway there. If not 60% there, you're aware, and therefore it can happen.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Merry Christmas and Merry everything. May every day be filled with joy because we choose it.
Yep. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Lindsay.
Thank you so much. Bye, Maddie.
Bye, Matt.
Thank you.
Bye.